This is another production from yours truly called On Another Level. Now, throughout my studying and interacting with people and, just learning different things, I have heard many mythologies in a sense. Some of these mythologies are said to have some type of way of speaking to our inner self. So the mythology or the mythos that I want to share with you today, I don't recall, it really doesn't have no name, but it goes like this. There was a war in heaven. The beings in heaven, they were at one another. It was a great war. And the Creator has sent these archangels, these angels in a higher position than these beings that were at war with one another, to disassemble, to break up the war. And what happened was that there was consequences for bringing chaos and disharmony on the higher realms. So there was a judgment in a sense, and consequences for the actions, and the beings were given the choice in a sense to come down to a lower frequency and find their way back to the source. And the thing about coming down to the lower frequency, or to this other realm, before they left the realm by agreement, they had to drink from the cup of forgetfulness. So once these beings came down to this realm, they went through a process of development, evolving, and being cultivated with the activities of this realm. So in one sense, these beings were actually in a form of prison. So these were spiritual prisoners, unaware that they were prisoners, actually on spiritual parole. And the thing about this parole is that it's not the type of parole that we have here in a sense through the penal system, but you can relate to it because of, if you have certain type of conduct, so forth and so on, that you will get, release, or you will be able to, in this case, return to where you came from. So it's all about figuring out, how to operate during this parole process. So the beings that came down, they were in essence scientists. So they came down and they started to explore, through their development and evolvement. They had to learn. They did different types of tests, not necessarily with test tubes, but with the things of the realm identified as Earth. So there was, within this process, a way that you can make it back. And, some people got on that path, or some of these beings got on the path, and they went to certain levels and they got stuck. Then others went further and they got stuck. As others went all the way, because what they had came to the conclusion that there was a blueprint, there was a divine instruction that was activated within them once they heard a certain type of tone or vibration, and it opened up their senses, and they knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, whatever everybody was saying going on around them, this was the path for them to return to where they originated from. Some people was like, nah, that ain't right, and others say that ain't right and that ain't right. But everyone has a homing device. And when the homing device, kind of like a GPS to get you back home, and it's dealing with intuition. So even though some things didn't make sense, these particular beings, this a group or a section or a portion of these beings, they utilized their sixth sense. It didn't make sense to the other beings that had came down to this realm with them, but they continued on, followed their intuition, and they actually returned to the source. Now, it's called the spiritual war. The war actually is not an external war, it's an internal war that was inside of the beings. And as they moved along in their experience, they start to conquer this or overcome that, and start to not utilize certain things that were not in their advantage, so they can make it back. And they deal with just regular old things: emotions, attitudes, behavior, all these types of things. So they learn to operate out of the higher frequencies, and the higher frequencies put them in a submissive type of perspective, and so they can hear. Their senses was opened up. So the other beings that got caught up in emotions and intellectualisms, they couldn't hear these types of things. So they went these other routes, and they were moving along, but they only can go but so far, because there is a combination, a sequence in a sense, to activate the portal or the doorway to make it back to the other realm. I hope you got something for this illustration. It's a point of view, mythos. Maybe, maybe not. Have a great day. This is the first session for On Another Level. Peace.